Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. It takes place in the small town of Ogden Marsh with a population of only 1,260 people. The main street's shown to be completely destroyed without any explanation when we jump back to 2 days earlier. The residents were all in good spirits as the young medical assistant Becca asks her boss permission to go watch a nearby game of baseball. The community doctor Judy agrees as most of the town is already attending it, like her husband Sheriff David and his deputy friend Russell. Noticing a farmer entering the outfield holding a shotgun, David races out to calm him down, assuming that he's just drunk. Rory's completely unresponsive to anything David says and suddenly raises his gun, forcing the sheriff to shoot him dead. It'll be about a week until a toxicology report comes back to confirm Rory's drunken state, but the deceased's family's there, including his son Kurt. Rory's wife Peggy says that her former alcoholic husband was 2 years sober and takes offense at the sheriff implying that he wasn't. The next day David finds another farmer sitting unresponsive until Ben snaps back into his usual cheery self and just walks away. The initial blood test comes back for Rory with an alcohol level of 0, but David still has to wait for complete confirmation that he was sober. Meanwhile, Judy's patient Bill is brought in by his wife as he's become drone-like and keeps repeating unrelated responses over and over. The doctor sends him home with Deardra telling her to get him some rest as he is probably just stressed from witnessing Rory being shot. In the middle of the night, Deardra and their son Nicholas hear Bill in the barn, but when the concerned wife goes to check on him, she finds the harvester turned on and unattended. She hears Nick scream and races back to the house to find him hiding in the closet, claiming that his father's searching for him with a knife. When Bill locates them, he traps the two inside the closet and soaks the house with gasoline before burning it down without any remorse. David gets the call the next morning and arrives at the scene with Judy to learn that neither Deardra nor Nick made it out alive, and Bill was found still standing motionless next to the gas canister. Offering no explanation, Bill just whistles to himself before being put in a cell where David tells Russell that he's giving him the same look that Rory was giving him the other day. Elsewhere, hunters are out wandering around the swamps when they discover the body of an ejected pilot that's been decaying for about a week. They call David to investigate the area with Russell, and they travel with local fisherman Travis, who claims to have heard a plane crash a few nights earlier. He's only reporting it now because the sheriff offered a reward and gives him grief for shooting Rory the other day as if he didn't draw first. They reach a military cargo plane submerged under the lake as the camera pans out to show Ogden Marsh on satellite and the area declared contaminated. Russell and David deduce that the crash compromised the town's water supply due to the fact that Rory was the first house to receive it from the treatment plant. They request the soggy mayor's permission to turn it off until further notice, but he requires it for his swimming pool and cares less about public safety. At the risk of losing his own job, David disobeys the orders, shutting it off and detaching the lever to prevent anyone else from turning it on. The partners return to the police station only to find Bill in a pool of blood, clearly dead, but David has a bad feeling and doesn't allow Russell to open his cell. He suddenly reanimates, so David decides that now's a good time to check on the status of Bill's transfer, but they realize that all of their communications have gone down. Stepping outside but still unable to get a signal on his phone, David notices that the streets have been abandoned and no one's responding to his callouts. An unresponsive woman rides around on a bike, and the only other person on the street speeds off in an SUV when David tries to confront them. He runs to the morgue to check on the doctor but finds no signs of him but a man strapped to a gurney with his eyes and mouth sewn shut. David allows him to speak, so the man says, "Behind you," as the morgue attendant knocks David to the ground and comes at him with a bone saw. David's able to pull the power cord, driving the saw into the doctor, killing him, but the out-of-control tool charges straight for his gonads. They're saved by Russell, who arrives just in the nick of time to kill the saw's power and admire the gruesome aftermath. The sheriff goes home to pack bags, telling Judy that she needs to spend a few nights with her mother, but they hear a commotion in the barn. David goes out to investigate, but soldiers arrive to detain him and put them with all of the other townspeople in an already established quarantine. Everyone gets examined for symptoms of infection, but when Judy doesn't pass the fever test, she gets separated from David, who's knocked unconscious for resisting. When he wakes up, David's being evacuated from Ogden Marsh with a group of healthy townspeople who have all been separated from their family members. They're offloaded at a truck stop just outside, but David sneaks away to rescue Judy and returns to the police station to find Bill's dead. Meanwhile, Judy was strapped to a gurney and sedated, but wakes up to the commotion of the perimeter being breached by the infected townspeople. It allows a bulk of the civilians to escape the quarantine, so the military personnel evacuate the school, abandoning all of the patients, including Judy. Russell's one of the people who escapes and meets up with David at the station, assuming that Judy was infected. It's explained by her husband to just be the result of a fever due to her first pregnancy, so they return to the school to break her out. Surrounded by sedated people, Judy notices that Becca's among them when just then Ben enters the ward with a pitchfork covered in blood. He searches for any signs of sound or movement before plunging his weapon into each of the helpless patients' chests. About to do the same to Becca, Judy screams at the last second to get Ben's attention, saving her life as he now aims to kill the doctor. He's suddenly shot dead by an entering David, who arrives with Russell to save the two girls and get the hell out of town. The four begin to make their way down the now destroyed main street, unable to find a working vehicle that isn't booted. They all hide from the trio of now infected hunters who are roaming around the streets shooting anyone they see. They load the bodies into their truck and leave, so the four decide to go to Russell's place to get a car, but first need to cross through a farm. It belongs to Becca's boyfriend Scotty, who's worried that the group might be infected, but the sheriff's gun helps him give them the benefit of a doubt. When soldiers raid the farm just a few minutes later, they hide in the barn, but Scotty's forced to reveal himself when they drag his mother from the house. The military shoots Scotty dead along with his mother before burning the bodies and scouring the rest of the outbuildings. David and Russell capture one of the soldiers, who freaks out when they remove his mask, thinking that he's going to die from exposure to the air. The young Babcock tells them they've been ordered to shoot all the civilians who've gone crazy, but he's only following orders and doesn't wanna. David trusts him enough to give him back his gear so that he can protect them by telling his team that the barn's clear. With the knowledge that the infection's now airborne, they continue walking to Russell's with the concern that at any moment one of them could turn. Once there, the deputy repairs an old patrol car while the rest collect supplies, and Judy gets ambushed upstairs by a couple of crazies. When David goes to check on her, he's tackled to the ground by Kurt, while his mother Peggy nails his hand to the floor with a knife. The infected pair plan to execute Judy with the same gun that killed Rory, but David mocks the dead husband, directing Peggy's attention towards him. With a free hand, he knocks away the gun, and Kurt then rips the other free to stab his mother in the neck. Kurt picks up the gun but is shot through the window by Russell, who enters and puts multiple bullets in both corpses. He assures them that it's just to confirm the kill, but the others worry that it may be symptoms of the infection starting to show. Once they get on the road, he becomes hostile when Becca begins coughing and getting repetitive with his words when David orders him to remain calm. They're suddenly spotted trying to escape the containment zone by an attack chopper, so when it circles around, they drive into a car wash for cover. It activates and the infected attack the car, while Russell's shotgun's taken by the machine, and they fight the crazies off, unable to move the vehicle. When David gains traction enough to accelerate out the other side, a clinger lynches Becca through the back window with a hose before they can escape. They kill the remaining infected in the car wash, but Becca dies and their vehicle's destroyed by the helicopter that leaves, assuming the group's been eliminated. Continuing walking, the survivors find no vehicles working until the SUV that drove away earlier begins to approach, so David plans to steal it. His plan's ruined by Russell, who tosses out a spike strip, not thinking twice about completely destroying the vehicle. They pull the driver out, who's a government intelligence officer, and reveals that the crashed plane contained a bioweapon called Trixie. He says that since David and Judy haven't shown symptoms after 48 hours, they're clearly not infected, but Russell on the other hand shoots the driver dead. He takes all of David's weapons and the pair hostage before continuing to walk away from Ogden Marsh. He wastes all of the ammo in the rifle, seemingly needing to shoot something but isn't far enough gone to use it on his friends. With only a pistol left, David convinces him to lower it, then disarms him, leaving the deputy to realize that he's now infected. He begs David to let him continue with them for just a little bit longer, so the three begin walking again until reaching a government blockade. Russell wants to use his last bit of self-autonomy to help his friends survive, so he's trusted with the pistol to go it alone while David and Judy walk around. Not wanting to harm them, Russ empties the weapon but still draws it on the soldiers, getting himself shot and luring them away from the checkpoint. The couple sneaks past while the deputy insults the approaching soldiers for their part in this before being executed by them. The last two survivors get back to the truck stop to search for a vehicle, but discover that the military executed all of the people who were evacuated, even the healthy. They split up to look around, and David finds the infected hillbillies' truck as they're using the building to stockpile the people that they kill. Judy hides from two that enter inside a closet full of bodies as the zombified residents walk around unaware that anyone's there. She's found by David and they attempt to escape in a pickup, but the infected hear them trying to start it and drag David beneath the vehicle. The other shoots at Judy in the cabin, but when he attempts to enter it, she manages to brain him with a revolver. David fights off the largest of the crazies, throwing his lighter at his feet and setting him on fire. He gets away and the couple escape in the semi, only to begin hearing a voice over the radio counting down from 10. When it reaches 0, Ogden Marsh is destroyed in a massive explosion that flips the truck in its passing shockwave. Both David and Judy are unharmed and watch the mushroom cloud over the wasteland that was once their hometown, before walking towards the nearby town of Cedar Rapids. The satellite highlighting the pair announces that another containment protocol's in order as the government descends on the new location. During the credits, a newscaster propagates that a chemical plant started a massive fire in Ogden Marsh as it cuts to a crazy man before the signal's lost. And the movie ends.